2011 was a huge year in the courtroom. There was outrage over the acquittal of Casey Anthony, the total vindication of Amanda Knox, and Dr. Conrad Murray being found responsible for the death of Michael Jackson. Here with more insight into the cases that defined 2011 and a look at next year's big legal battles is Jean Casarez, correspondent for In Session on True TV. Good morning to you, Jean.
Good
to see
morning.
you. Let's begin with Casey Anthony. This case seemed to build and build in interest across the country.
And I don't think we're going to have a case like this for a long time. It was amazing because initially it was a little girl that went missing, Kaylee Anthony. And I think the country turned to that. But then the cast of characters came out and we found out that her mother hadn't reported her missing for 31 days. And George and Cindy Anthony, and you saw the jailhouse phone calls, and it began with, I think the public just couldn't turn away from it. Then came the trial, and in the defense opening, I think they turned the case on its head.
Yeah.
When they said that Kaylee died, she drowned in the family's pool, and that George Anthony had sexually molested his daughter, and that's why she lied for 31 days, because she learned how to lie. But there was no evidence of that. And then, of course, the stunning verdict.
The stunning verdict. The people spoke. She was found not guilty. It's someone who covered this trial. Were you shocked at that verdict?
Stunned. Absolutely stunned. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's move on to Amanda Knox, the American college student who was freed after 4 years in an Italian prison. Another case where the public just became more and more interested over the years.
That's right. And I think we learned how evidence can be fabricated from nothing, how someone can sit in jail, be convicted. And also I think the lesson here is when you're in another country, you're governed by their laws, their police, and your rights as an American are really trumped for the country that you're in.
Another big trial this year, of course, Conrad Murray and the death of Michael Jackson. No surprise here as to why so many people were interested in this. The verdict, were you surprised?
No, not surprised at the verdict. I think the headline, one of the headlines is that Southern California has not been able to get a verdict of guilty in a celebrity trial. They got it with Conrad Murray. But the thing that amazed me, on the 9th floor where the trial was held, the fans of Michael Jackson lined that hallway every day of that 2-month trial. And near the end, Russ, as the prosecutors would leave the courtroom for lunch or a break, they would start to cheer on the 9th floor for the prosecutors. The jury had to hear that. They were never around that, but you could hear it on the whole floor. And that was the amazing aspect, I think, of that trial for me.
Let's talk about Joran Sloot, the young man who was never charged with the murder of Natalie Holloway, but is now being charged with killing a woman in Peru. You talked about being in another country. Joran Sloot is going to be tried in Peru. What can he expect from the Peruvian court system? You
know, I was in Lima for a month for our networks, and the trial is going to begin on Friday, by the way. Ultimately, he will go to trial. And many of the laws, and of course he's not an American citizen, but many of the laws in Peru are similar to ours. However, he is charged with first-degree murder, but there is no life in prison in Peru. The maximum he can get is probably about 35 years. But I think we may see on Friday, when the trial begins, he may have an acceptance of responsibility. You know, he confessed very explicitly. Now, whether it was a true confession, we don't know, because Joran Sloot isn't one to tell the truth. But if he accepts the responsibility for killing her, he could get as little as 7 years.
Also coming up in 2012, very soon, actually, Jerry Sandusky, former assistant coach at Penn State, going to trial, or going to court to testify against charges if he's against him of abusing kids. How much of a circus do you expect this to get over the next few weeks?
Well, it's been amazing so far, right? First of all, we'll see on the side of the prosecution, will more alleged victims step forward? Will there be more charges? Sandusky may continue to do interviews, and he may continue to, in a sense, put himself in a corner, because everything he says can be brought into a court of law when that trial begins. So stay tuned.
Are you surprised he keeps talking to the press?
Very surprised.
Somebody, his lawyer, is telling him it's okay to do that?
Because this can come into a trial. It's a statement against his interest, and if it doesn't add up to the evidence the prosecutors have, they are inconsistencies.
Okay, Jean Casarez, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you to you too, Russ.